Yeah, we can wrap this up. We've
No, I
been
don't want
doing
to
it
wrap
for,
this up. I'm having
well,
too
we,
much.
we got to wrap it up soon. We're doing it 2 hours and 40 minutes.
I don't want to go anywhere. This is awesome. By the way,
But I have to. I can't keep
congratulations
this
on not
forever.
drinking.
They say you shouldn't meet your heroes, and for Guy Fieri, he learnt that the hard way. It wasn't some chance encounter with Joe Rogan in one of his restaurants or an introduction through a mutual friend at a celebrity party. This happened in the worst way possible, on a 2.5-hour podcast recorded for everyone to see. We've seen Rogan navigate boring guests before. Some have even been aggressive, like Egyptian pyramid gatekeeper Zahi Hawass, and some have even been straight up manipulative, like Persian rug salesman Patrick Bet-David. But this time, the problem was Joe himself. See, our boy Rogan's undergoing a bit of a transformation at the moment. If you haven't heard, he's quit drinking and started going to church on Sundays, and now that all THC products have been banned in Texas, it's looking like Rogan's going to be stuck with sucking on nicotine pouches and popping Alpha Brain pills to get that edge. That reminds me, I wonder what's happening with the Alpha Brain lawsuit. Let me get back to you on that one. By the way, quick shout out to all of you from my main channel, Podcast Cringe, for coming over here and subscribing to my new channel. I appreciate your support, and if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on my uploads throughout the week. But hey, clearly I'm having a laugh. Who knows why Rogan was off the day Guy came to meet his hero? Maybe he had a late night at the mothership green room and didn't get a chance to take a mid-morning nap in his ice bath. Whatever it was though, everyone noticed. Now, I've seen guys like Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer, Andrew Schultz, and obviously Brendan Schaub get absolutely roasted in their comment sections, but I've never quite seen this sort of a backlash against Rogan on an episode of JRE before. First time I felt like Joe was kinda hating. Guy Fieri deserved better. Guy carried this pod hard. Rogan was having an off day. God damn, Joe was the king of bad vibes in this one. Rogan has never been so uninterested and rude to a guest. Is it just me, or does Joe seem kinda uninterested and is being kinda dickish? I want to see Guy go in Theo's podcast. He would get the love he deserves. Guy was excited to be on this podcast. Joe seemed like he just wanted to take a nap. Props to Guy for remaining energetic and positive throughout the whole pod. Really disappointing how disengaged JR was during this convo, especially since you could tell Guy was pumped to be there. And you really could tell how pumped Guy was to finally be in the studio with Joe and spark up a cigar with the little guy. He was telling Joe how his kids are massive fans of the podcast. He thanked Joe for supporting the president and speaking out against the woke mob. I mean, after all, Rogan is our last line of defense against tyranny. Him and his elite group of top 250 comedy assassins are defending our liberties, one fart joke at a time. The problem is, though, that Rogan's become incredibly inconsistent, and this is something I've been noticing more and more lately. He really has become a moody boomer. This is the guy who got famous for having the most random, out-of-pocket but interesting conversations we've ever heard, entertaining conspiracy theories, alternative theories on history, and of course bringing us the latest pseudo-scientific research the internet has to offer. But when it came to Guy, Rogan just wouldn't give him an inch.
Do you not trip out that Dick Tracy had a square watch that looked like an Apple Watch?
It's kind of crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
They would talk to it, and everybody's like, that's nuts.
This is like we should be drinking or smoking, or something should be going on. What happened? Did we influence enough Apple people that they just decided to make it a square watch and make it look like Dick Tracy's watch? Or did the Dick Tracy thing, did we already make the watch, and did somebody go back and, I mean, do you ever sit there and trip on shit like that?
I definitely don't.
You don't?
No, not about that. It's a normal shape for a frame.
Okay, well, we'll go back to Matrix then. Because I think of the Matrix things all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, how real, how possible is that? We used to watch that cartoon. There was a movie my kid watched when he was little about the people that all went and lived. It wasn't too long ago. It was maybe 10, 15 years ago. About the people all lived in the spaceship and the little robot and the plant grew and everybody was heavy set. Nobody walked. They were all in space.
The
thing?
Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you sit there and look at that stuff and you're like, wow.
Yeah. That's what's really happening.
Okay, so you didn't buy my Dick Tracy idea, but I think that the other stuff is, I don't know.
Well, when you think about where this is all headed, there's only a few different directions that one could go to, and simulated reality is a big one. People that are very uncomfortable with their own lives and want to live a different life, and then you're going to be able to have experiences. Whether they do it with an implant or whether they do it with a helmet that you wear that sort of interacts with your brain, sends signals into your visual cortex and recreates experiences. It's coming.
You taking this way past my Dick Tracy watch.
Yeah,
thing.
look at this robot.
Robot dancing.
Oh, I
today.
saw this yesterday.
Yeah, look at this dancing robot. They're moving like a human moves, and then eventually they're going to realize this human design kind of sucks. Let's make something that's better than a human. Well, it's going to be powered by AI, and AI is not going to probably have the best opinion of us because a lot of us are annoying.
Deep shit. Man.
Yeah, it's weird.
We were talking about food and cars and
Yeah,
that's deep.
it's a weird time. It's a weird time for change.
Can we just get through one episode without Rogan ranting about the dangers of AI? Guy just wanted to talk about food and cars, but Joe had to get through his talking points, otherwise he'd have 20 missed calls from his CIA handler, Mike Baker. I wonder how Bucko, Fucko, and Schmucko are doing. Seriously though, how many times have we heard it? Humans are dumb, AI is smart, poor people are going to lose their jobs, but comedians and podcasters are safe because... Actually, I have no idea why. That's just what Joe said. But you could tell how Guy was getting frustrated that Rogan wasn't biting on any of his theories, not to mention that Joe seemed kinda low energy and condescending for pretty much the whole podcast. We all know how Rogan will completely sidestep a whole conversation to go into one of his doomsday rants, and then 20 minutes later the guest will be like, wait, what was I saying? And Joe will just shrug his shoulders, puff on his cigar, sip some of his drink, and pop another zin. When it comes to being tone deaf though, nobody quite does it like Rogan. In this next clip, Rogan had the grace of a drunken elk, and I'm not even exaggerating a little bit when I say this. I haven't laughed this hard in ages. This was easily one of the top 10 funniest moments in JRE history.
My sister died, real close with my sister, and I kept getting this weird feeling. Then the hawk is a representation of my sister. I'm driving my big RV cross country with my family. Every year we do a big, huge road trip with the family. This hawk flies outside of my window. 5 minutes. No shit. It was a real 5 minutes. Flew along the freeway with me as fast as I was going. The older I get, the more I start to buy into, there's got to be something else. There's no way it can be all this and not be something more. It just didn't vaporize, go away. Sit in a hot tub. I had to have my routine of hot sauna, cold plunge, hot tub, infrared. I do all that. But I'm sitting there, and I keep getting this thing. I got to call this medium lady. And I said, hey, can I come see you? And she goes, yeah. She goes, your dad's been hitting me up quite a bit. Dad wants to talk to you.
Your dead dad
My dead dad.
has been hitting her up.
To get in touch with me, to make...
Does she know that your father's dead?
She knows my dad. Yeah, she knew my
Okay.
dad's dead. She said, yeah, he's been talking about it. She goes, were you just in Mexico? I said, yeah. She could do something about him in Mexico, something about an owl. There's no way in a million years she would know this.
An owl?
Yeah, my dad comes back as an owl. So he said he was going to be as an owl.
Is what he was saying to her?
To me.
To you?
Yeah, this is before he died.
Before he died, he said, I'm going to come back as an owl?
No, owl was the thing. Wise guy.
Okay.
And I hung...
Owls are dumb as shit.
I don't know. I've
Isn't
been
that
around
crazy?
I don't know that. I've never seen. They're smarter than me. They
No.
scare the shit out of me.
No, they're really dumb birds.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
my dad we're talking about. Thanks a lot, Joe. Makes me
No,
feel
I'm
good.
not saying your dad's dumb. I'm just saying it's weird that we all have this idea of owls being wise. It's
Well-
like the only thing dumber than them is emus. It's like emus are dumb as shit.
I saw emus on a ranch yesterday.
She's like, we have this idea that owls are really smart.
Well, whatever the case
Sorry.
is.
Go
I
ahead.
hung up a stained glass owl where my dad used to sit in our house in Mexico. I don't know. I'm not cheating or preaching.
There's
it to
something-
people. There's something bigger going on there.
Have
with
you
it.
ever
And
heard of the
I know people are
telepathy
looking at me
tapes?
going, guys crazy, but it really is there's got to be something else.
Have you ever heard of the telepathy tapes?
Bro even threw in his sauna and cold plunge routine and Joe Rogan still wouldn't bite. And what the fuck is an emu? Joe seriously just needed to shut up and let him go with that one. Stopping him to explain that owls are dumb added absolutely nothing to the story other than to make him look like an insensitive douchebag who can't let anything slide. And out of all the things his guests have said over the past few years, and he's just sat there and eaten it up like a good boy, Joe couldn't possibly just let Guy finish his emotional story about connecting with his dead father through a medium. Instead, Rogan completely shut him down and went on a long rant about the telepathy tapes.
The telepathy tapes are this podcast this woman put together from her work with nonverbal autistic kids and their families. Nonverbal autistic kids and their mothers in particular have an incredible, measurable psychic bond. She documented a nonverbal autistic kid who had the ability to read hieroglyphs. They have the ability to read languages that they've never studied. It's a real documented phenomenon that a lot of people were reluctant to believe in, because it's one of those things you believe in it all. You believe in fairy tales, superstition. You're a sucker. But no, it's real. There's some sort of a bond that exists.
So basically everything Joe just said there is either inaccurate, incomplete, or just made up. The telepathy tapes have been widely ridiculed by the science community for lacking any real comprehensive scientific approach to documenting the claims of telepathic communication. One scientist even showed how the experiments were derived from the rapid prompting method, which means the researchers and parents directed the kids where to point on the boards. And that's not even getting into the theories that the kids can communicate with ghosts and access strange powers through crystals. Rogan believed every word that Kai Dickens told him about the hieroglyphics, even though it was all based on a second-hand email.
Yeah, so, there's one young girl I'm thinking of in particular, but there's this, again, this has come up now with, 15 non-speakers that I've met. She will work during the day with a paraprofessional and a spelling coach. There's the education system, there might be 2 or 3 people in a room, and 3 people were in the room this day. And she started spelling in a language, and they didn't know what it is, so they looked it up, and it was Portuguese. And she also said she knew hieroglyphics. And
what?
Yeah. And then they were like, well, how do we test this? Because if we know the answer, she'll read our mind and know. So they had to just...
Which is wild.
Okay, here's the feather. I don't know what
right,
a hieroglyphic, whatever,
yeah.
A feather on top of a stone or whatever the picture was of. And here's this picture and this picture, and then she identified them. And then they looked them up, and they were right.
Wow, all of them 100% accurate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I'm not saying, of course not.
What the hell is going on there? That's beyond bizarre. Did you give her cuneiform?
I wasn't there for this. Her mom reported it to me, and it has the email that she received from the staff. And so, the staff is just like, this is what happened today. A good spelling coach will ask this child first, right? Is it okay if I share this with your parents, or is this private between us or whatever? But if they say it's okay to share, they will write a letter home, and this is what happened. And that was in a letter home. This is what happened today.
That's enough evidence for Joe, but Guy's dead dad coming back as a dumb owl is nonsense. I don't know what's going on with Rogan's bullshit detector these days. Maybe he needs to change the batteries or start drinking again and eating carbs. Who knows? But the way he shut Guy down because owls are stupid is funnier than anything he's ever done on stage. And that includes the stool humping. Anyway, massive shout out to all of you who came over here from my main channel and subscribed. If you're new here, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to this channel as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.
So long story short, Lori and I were pregnant, 8.5 months.
You were pregnant too?
Yeah, well, that's what I call it. I held the baby weight.